The rain came down hard over the city, turning every street into a slick mirror of neon and shadow. Henry ran through it with bare hands and labored breath, his jacket soaked through to the skin. The wallet he had dropped was not just money and photographs. It held his identification card and the custody papers for his daughter, Louisa. A trail of water leaking from the parking garage awning led him down to level P3, where an old Polaroid photograph waited inside the wallet, its back marked with a strange sequence of numbers. From here, Henry would realize the wallet was never lost. It had been placed as bait to pull him toward a truth that would shatter everything he thought he knew about how Audrey died. The clock on the dashboard read 10:15 when Henry locked the maintenance room at Carter Tower. His shift had run late, again. Tomorrow morning at 9, the family court would convene to review temporary custody arrangements for Louisa. He had already laid out his documents on the kitchen table the night before. Identification, pay stubs, the letter from Louisa's school principal. Everything in order, everything ready. He pulled his phone from his pocket and dialed the video call. Louisa's face appeared on the screen, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, a pencil tucked behind one ear. "Hey, kiddo," Henry said. "Still awake?" "I'm finishing the drawing," Louisa replied. She held up a sheet of paper covered in colored pencils. "It's Mom, remember? In front of that building with the blue logo." Henry squinted at the screen. The drawing showed a woman standing before a glass tower. The logo on the facade was unmistakable, a stylized letter C in cobalt blue. Carter Tower, the building where he worked, where Audrey used to work, back when she was an industrial safety engineer. Back before the accident. "That's beautiful, Lou," he said quietly. "Get some sleep, okay? Big day tomorrow." "You too, Dad." He ended the call and slipped the phone into his jacket. The rain had started while he was inside, a steady autumn drizzle that made the sidewalks gleam. Henry stopped at the 24/7 convenience store on the corner, bought a coffee, paid with a $10 bill. The wallet was still in his back pocket. He felt it there, the familiar weight. The cashier handed him change, and Henry stepped back into the rain. The bus terminal was only 3 blocks away. He had parked his truck there earlier, avoiding the expensive garage rates near the tower. By the time he reached the terminal, the rain had thickened into a downpour. Henry ducked under the awning and reached for his wallet to check his parking stub. His hand came back empty. He patted his jacket pockets, his front jeans pockets, turned in a slow circle. Nothing. The wallet was gone. Panic set in fast and cold. Henry retraced his steps, scanning the wet pavement, checking under benches. His phone buzzed. "Constance, his attorney." He answered. "Henry, just confirming we're set for 9 tomorrow," Constance said. Her voice was brisk, efficient. "You have all your documents, right?" "My wallet's missing," Henry said. "My ID, the custody papers, everything." There was a pause on the line. "Henry, listen to me. If you show up tomorrow without proper identification, the judge could delay the hearing, or worse, question your organizational fitness. You need to find that wallet." "I know," Henry said. "I'm working on it." "Call me if you can't," Constance said. "We'll figure something out. But Henry, find it." He hung up and stood under the flickering terminal lights. The coffee in his hand had gone cold. He thought about retracing his route, checking the convenience store, asking if anyone had turned in a wallet. Then he remembered the sidewalk cameras. Most storefronts had them now. He jogged back to the convenience store and asked the cashier if he could review the footage. The cashier shrugged and turned the monitor around. Henry watched himself enter the store, buy the coffee, leave. But then something strange appeared on the screen. A figure in a dark jacket approached Henry from behind, just outside the store. The figure's hand moved quickly, slipping something into Henry's jacket pocket, not taking something out, putting something in. Henry froze the frame and leaned closer. The angle was bad, the person's face hidden under a hood. But the motion was clear. Whoever this was had placed the wallet into his pocket, which meant he had not dropped it. Which meant someone wanted him to think he had lost it, only to find it again later. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Just 2 characters, P3K. Henry stared at the message. P3, parking level 3. K. He did not know what K meant, but the location was specific. The parking garage near Carter Tower had 6 underground levels. P3 was where most maintenance and delivery vehicles parked. He glanced at the time. 10:45. The courthouse opened at 9. He had 10 hours. Henry left the convenience store and walked back toward the tower. The parking garage entrance was a concrete mouth that swallowed the rain. Henry descended the ramp, passing level P1, then P2. The fluorescent lights on P3 flickered in uneven intervals, casting the space in stuttering shadows. The air smelled of oil and damp concrete. He walked slowly, scanning the ground. A drainage channel ran along the far wall, and next to it, placed deliberately on the ledge, was his wallet. Henry picked it up and opened it. Everything was there. His identification card, his credit cards, the custody papers, folded neatly in the billfold. But there was something new, a blank key card, the kind used for secure building access. And tucked into the card slot, a Polaroid photograph. Henry pulled the photo into the light. It showed Audrey standing in the lobby of Carter Tower, her safety vest bright against the glass and steel. She was smiling, but her eyes looked tired. Henry flipped the photograph over. On the back, written in faint pencil, was a string of numbers. 16 digits, arranged in 4 groups of 4. Henry recognized the handwriting. It was similar to the way Louisa wrote her numbers, careful and deliberate. His daughter had been young when Audrey died, only 8 years old. But she had kept some of her mother's things, a calendar, a notebook, and somewhere in those pages, Henry knew, were numbers that might match this sequence. He pocketed the wallet and the key card and left the garage. The clock on his phone read 11, 8 hours until court. But Henry was no longer thinking about the hearing. He was thinking about Audrey, about the accident that killed her 3 years ago. An explosion at an industrial site overseen by Carter Industries. A faulty ventilation module. Audrey had been investigating safety violations when it happened. The official report called it an accident. But Audrey had been careful. She had documented everything. If someone had placed this photograph here, if someone had left him a key card, then someone wanted him to know the truth. Henry walked back to the tower. The lobby was empty at this hour, just a single security guard at the desk. Henry swiped the key card. The light turned green. The elevator opened. He stepped inside and pressed the button for the technical floor, level 15. The elevator climbed in silence. When the doors opened, Henry found himself in a narrow hallway lit by red emergency lights. The technical floor housed the building's infrastructure. HVAC systems, electrical panels, server access points. Henry worked here often enough to know the layout, but tonight, someone else was here. A young man in a maintenance uniform sat at a workstation near the server room door. He looked up as Henry approached. "Henry," the man said, "what are you doing here this late?" Henry recognized him. Elias, one of the junior technicians, mid-20s, good with systems, quiet but reliable. "I could ask you the same thing," Henry said. Elias gestured to the monitor in front of him. "System audit. Someone flagged unusual access logs from a few years back." "I'm just cleaning up the records." He paused, studying Henry's face. "You okay? You look like you've been running." Henry hesitated, then pulled out the Polaroid. "Do you remember this woman?" "Audrey. She worked here as a safety engineer." Elias took the photograph and frowned. "I wasn't here 3 years ago, but I've seen her name in the old safety reports. There was an incident, right? An explosion?" "Yes," Henry said. "She died." "I'm sorry," Elias said. He handed the photo back. "I saw her name come up in the audit. There were a lot of files attached to her access credentials. Most of them were deleted from the public system, but the backup logs still reference them. Someone really didn't want those files accessible." Henry felt his pulse quicken. "Can you pull up those logs?" Elias glanced at the door to the server room. "Technically, I'd need authorization, but if you're saying this is related to a safety incident, I can justify it as a maintenance review." He turned back to the keyboard and began typing. A few moments later, a list of file names appeared on the screen. Most were labeled with technical codes, but one stood out. "Ventilation Module Audit, Site 7. "Can you open it?" Henry asked. Elias clicked the file. An error message appeared. Deleted. "But there's a note here. It says the file was flagged for review by someone named Clinton Archer. Does that name mean anything to you?" Henry nodded slowly. "He's on the board of directors for Carter Industries. He oversees site safety compliance." "Not anymore," a voice said from the doorway. Henry and Elias turned. A woman stepped into the hallway, her camera bag slung over one shoulder. She was in her 30s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. Henry did not recognize her. "Who are you?" Henry asked. "Vivian," she said. "Freelance investigative journalist. I've been tracking Clinton Archer for 6 months. And if you're looking into Audrey's accident, then you and I need to talk." Vivian walked past them and set her camera bag on the desk. She pulled out a small digital recorder and placed it on the table. Audrey recorded this 2 days before she died. I got it from a source who worked at Site 7. Listen. She pressed play. Audrey's voice filled the room, calm but urgent. This is Audrey Walker, safety engineer, Carter Industries. I'm documenting a critical failure in the ventilation module at Site 7. The carbon monoxide sensors were manually disabled on the night of October 10th. I've reported this to site management 3 times. No response. If something happens, this recording is my proof that I raised the alarm. The recording ended. Vivian looked at Henry. 2 days later, that module exploded. Audrey was inside, inspecting the site. The official report said it was a mechanical failure. But those sensors didn't disable themselves. Someone shut them down. And I think Clinton Archer knows who. Henry's hands were shaking. Why would he cover it up? Because Carter Industries was bidding on a federal contract at the time, Vivian said. Any safety violation would have killed the deal. Archer buried the evidence, paid off the site manager, and made sure the report called it an accident. Audrey was collateral damage. Elias was staring at the screen. If that's true, then the logs I'm auditing might have been tampered with. Someone went back and erased the access records that showed the sensors were disabled manually. Can you recover them? Henry asked. Maybe, Elias said. But I'd need to access the main server. That's locked down after hours. You'd need executive clearance. Henry thought about the keycard in his pocket. What if I already have access? Vivian raised an eyebrow. How did you get that? Someone left it for me, Henry said. Along with this photo, I think someone inside Carter Industries wants the truth to come out. Vivian crossed her arms. Or someone wants to see what you'll do with it. Be careful, Henry. Clinton Archer has a private security team. If he finds out you're digging into this, he'll shut you down fast. Henry looked at the Polaroid again, at Audrey's tired smile. He thought about Louisa, waiting at home. He thought about the hearing in 8 hours. And he thought about the truth, buried under layers of corporate cover-ups and deleted files. He made his decision. Show me the server room, Henry said. Elias stood and led them down the hall. The server room was behind a heavy steel door, secured with a keycard reader. Henry swiped the blank card. The lock clicked open. Inside, rows of servers hummed in the cold air, their indicator lights blinking in patterns like a digital heartbeat. Elias moved to the central terminal and began typing commands. Henry and Vivian stood behind him, watching the screen. I'm pulling the raw audit logs from the night of the explosion, Elias said. If the data's still here, it should show who accessed the sensor controls. His fingers flew across the keyboard. A progress bar appeared, slowly filling. Got it. Here's the access log for October 10th, 3 years ago. The screen displayed a list of timestamps and user IDs. At 1930 hours, someone with the ID CA07 had logged into the system and disabled the carbon monoxide sensors. The log entry included a location tag, Site 7, Ventilation Module Control Panel. CA07, Vivian said. That's Clinton Archer's executive access code. I've seen it before in leaked emails. Henry stared at the screen. So he did it himself. Or someone using his credentials, Elias said. But either way, this proves the sensors were shut down manually. This is evidence of criminal negligence. We need to copy this, Henry said. Can you pull it onto a drive? Elias nodded and plugged in a portable hard drive. The data began transferring. But before the process could finish, an alarm blared through the building. Red lights flashed in the hallway. Elias swore under his breath. Security alert, he said. Someone triggered the intrusion system. They know we're in here. How long until the transfer finishes? Henry asked. 2 minutes, Elias said. Then we wait, Henry said. Vivian was already packing her camera bag. They'll lock down the elevators. We'll have to use the emergency stairs. The transfer bar crawled forward. 90%, 95. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. Henry's heart pounded. The bar hit 100%. Elias ejected the drive and handed it to Henry. Go, Elias said. I'll tell them I was running a routine audit. They won't believe me, but it'll buy you time. Henry took the drive and looked at Elias. Thank you. Find the truth, Elias said. For Audrey. Henry and Vivian ran for the emergency exit at the end of the hall. Behind them, the server room door burst open. Security guards in black uniforms poured into the room. Henry shoved the door open and started down the stairs, Vivian close behind. They descended 3 flights before Henry heard voices above them. The guards were following. He picked up his pace, taking the stairs 2 at a time. They reached the ground floor and pushed through the exit into the parking garage. The rain was still falling, harder now. Henry and Vivian ran across the lot toward the street. They made it 2 blocks before a police cruiser pulled up beside them, lights flashing. An officer stepped out, one hand on his belt. Henry stopped, breathing hard. The officer approached. "Henry Walker?" the officer said. "Yes," Henry replied. "I'm Officer George Harding. You're wanted for questioning in connection with a break-in at Carter Tower. I need you to come with me." Henry glanced at Vivian. She gave him a small nod. He turned back to Officer Harding. "I didn't break in. I had access. I'm a maintenance technician there." "We can talk about it at the station," Officer Harding said. He gestured toward the cruiser. "Let's go." Henry got into the back seat. Officer Harding drove through the rain in silence. At the precinct, Henry was led to a small interview room with a table and 2 chairs. Officer Harding sat across from him, a notepad in front of him. "Want to tell me what you were doing in that server room?" Officer Harding asked. Henry took a breath. "My wife died 3 years ago in an industrial accident. Tonight, I found evidence that the accident was caused by deliberate negligence. I was trying to recover the data." Officer Harding's expression did not change. "That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof?" Henry reached into his pocket and pulled out the Polaroid. He placed it on the table. "This is my wife, Audrey. She was investigating safety violations at a Carter Industries site when she died. Someone left this photo for me tonight, along with a key card. The data I recovered shows that Clinton Archer disabled the safety sensors before the explosion." Officer Harding picked up the photo and studied it. "Who gave you the key card?" "I don't know," Henry said. "It was left in my wallet." Officer Harding set the photo down. "So you're telling me someone anonymously led you into a restricted area to recover data that implicates a board member of a major corporation in a cover-up. And you expect me to believe that?" "Yes," Henry said, "because it's the truth." Officer Harding leaned back in his chair. "Let me make a call." He left the room. Henry sat alone, staring at the Polaroid. He thought about Louisa, about the hearing in 6 hours. He thought about Constance's warning. He thought about Audrey, standing in the lobby with her tired smile. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Somehow, they had not taken it from him. He pulled it out and saw a text from Louisa. "Dad, are you okay? You didn't call." Henry typed back quickly. "I'm fine, Lou. Just working on something. Remember that drawing you made of Mom? The numbers on the back?" "Yeah," Louisa replied. "From the old calendar. Why?" "I need you to send me those numbers," Henry said. "All of them." A moment later, his phone buzzed again. A photo appeared. It was a page from a calendar, the kind with daily boxes. In one of the boxes, written in Audrey's handwriting, was the same 16-digit sequence from the Polaroid. But below it, in smaller print, was a note. "Cloud recovery key. Silas has the public key." Henry stared at the screen. Silas Carter, the CEO of Carter Industries. If Audrey had left a recovery key with him, then she had anticipated something going wrong. She had planned for this. Henry forwarded the photo to his own email, then deleted the text thread. Officer Harding returned to the room. "All right, Walker," he said. "I checked your story. The hard drive you were carrying has been confiscated as evidence. But I also pulled the security footage from the convenience store where you said someone put your wallet back. You were right. Someone did approach you. I can't see their face, but the motion matches your description." Henry looked up. "So you believe me?" Officer Harding sat down. "I believe something strange is going on, but I need more than a Polaroid and a deleted file to go after Clinton Archer. If you have real evidence, now's the time to show it." Henry pulled out his phone and showed Officer Harding the photo of the calendar. "My wife left a recovery key. She stored backup data with Silas Carter. If we can access that data, it'll prove everything." Officer Harding studied the screen. "You're saying the CEO has evidence against his own board member?" "I think he's been sitting on it for 3 years, Henry said. "Audrey gave it to him as insurance, but he never used it. Maybe he didn't have the courage. Or maybe he was waiting for someone to force his hand." Officer Harding handed the phone back. "If that's true, then we need to talk to Silas Carter. Tonight." Henry checked the time. 1:30 in the morning. 5.5 hours until the hearing. Officer Harding made a call. 10 minutes later, they were in the cruiser, driving back toward Carter Tower. The rain had lessened to a drizzle. The streets were empty. They parked in front of the tower and walked into the lobby. The security guard looked up, surprised. "We're here to see Silas Carter," Officer Harding said, showing his badge. The guard picked up the phone and spoke quietly. A moment later, he nodded. Top floor. The private elevator is on your left. Henry and Officer Harding took the elevator to the 50th floor. The doors opened into a spacious office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Silas Carter stood by the window, his hands behind his back. He was in his late 40s, gray hair, sharp suit. He turned as they entered. Officer Harding, Silas said, and Henry Walker. I was wondering when you'd come. Henry stepped forward. You knew about Audrey's data. Silas nodded slowly. I did. She gave me a copy of her findings 6 months before the explosion. She said if anything happened to her, I should make sure the truth came out. But when she died, the board threatened to sue me personally if I released the files. They said it would destroy the company. I was a coward. I kept the data locked away. Why didn't you come forward? Officer Harding asked. Because Clinton Archer controlled the board votes, Silas said. If I went against him, I'd lose everything. But I kept the data. I encrypted it and stored it with a recovery key. I hoped someone would find it eventually, someone who cared enough to fight. Henry pulled out the Polaroid. Audrey left this for me. And the numbers. She knew I'd figure it out. Silas walked to his desk and opened a drawer. He pulled out a small device, a hardware key with a USB port. This is the public key. If you have the recovery code, we can unlock the data right now. Henry handed him his phone. Silas connected the hardware key to his computer and entered the 16-digit sequence from the calendar. The screen flashed. A folder appeared, labeled Audrey Walker, Site 7 Evidence. Silas opened it. Inside were dozens of files, photos of the disabled sensors, emails between Clinton Archer and the site manager, audit logs showing repeated violations, and a video file, time-stamped 2 days before the explosion. Silas clicked the video. Audrey's face appeared on the screen. She was sitting in her car, the camera propped on the dashboard. She looked directly into the lens. If you're watching this, Audrey said, then something happened to me. I've documented everything. The sensor failures, the ignored warnings. Clinton Archer ordered the site manager to disable the safety systems to avoid delays on the federal contract. I've reported it to Silas Carter. If he's watching this with you, then he knows what he has to do. The truth can't stay buried, not if it costs lives. Henry, if you're the one who found this, I'm sorry. I wish I could have done more. Take care of Louisa. And don't let them get away with this. The video ended. Henry's vision blurred. He wiped his eyes. Silas closed the laptop and looked at Officer Harding. This is everything, Silas said. Photos, emails, logs, GPS data from Archer's security vehicle placing him at Site 7 the night the sensors were disabled. It's all here. Officer Harding nodded. I'll need to take this as evidence. And I'll need a formal statement from you, Mr. Carter. You'll have it, Silas said. But there's something you should know. Clinton Archer has a team of lawyers and private security. If he finds out we've accessed this data, he'll try to destroy it. We need to go public before he has the chance. How? Henry asked. Silas checked his watch. It's almost 2 in the morning. In 4 hours, the business news networks start their morning broadcasts. I can call a press conference in the tower lobby. If we release the data live, Archer won't be able to stop it. Officer Harding looked at Henry. Are you willing to be part of this? If you go public, your life will change. The media will dig into everything. Henry thought about Louisa. He thought about Audrey's video. He thought about the hearing at 9, about standing in front of a judge and proving he was fit to raise his daughter. And he realized that the best way to do that was to show Louisa that the truth mattered, that her mother's death mattered. I'm in, Henry said. Silas made the calls. Within an hour, reporters began arriving at the tower. By 3 in the morning, the lobby was filled with cameras and lights. Silas stood at a podium, Henry and Officer Harding behind him. Vivian was there too, her camera ready. Elias had been released from questioning and joined them at the back of the room. Silas cleared his throat and began to speak. 3 years ago, one of our safety engineers, Audrey Walker, died in an explosion at Site 7. The official report called it an accident. It was not. Tonight, we are releasing evidence that shows Clinton Archer, a member of our board of directors, deliberately disabled safety systems to avoid delays on a federal contract. Audrey Walker tried to stop it. She documented everything, and she paid for it with her life. The room erupted with questions. Silas raised a hand. We are providing full access to the data, emails, audit logs, GPS records, and a video statement from Audrey herself. This information will be made public immediately. Behind him, Elias projected the files onto a large screen. The photos of the disabled sensors, the emails between Archer and the site manager, the GPS data showing Archer's vehicle at Site 7 on the night of October 10th. The room fell silent. Reporters began typing furiously. Cameras flashed. And then, from the back of the lobby, Clinton Archer appeared. He walked through the crowd, his face calm but his eyes sharp. He stepped up to the podium and looked at Silas. "This is a mistake," Archer said. "You're destroying this company." "No," Silas said. "You destroyed it when you chose profit over people." Archer turned to the cameras. "These files are fabricated. This is a coordinated attack by disgruntled employees and opportunistic journalists. I will fight this in court." Officer Harding stepped forward. "Mr. Archer, based on the evidence presented tonight, I'm placing you under arrest for criminal negligence and obstruction of justice." 2 more officers entered the lobby. They approached Archer and placed him in handcuffs. The cameras captured every moment. Archer said nothing as they led him away. The reporters turned back to Silas, shouting questions. But Henry was no longer listening. He pulled out his phone and called Constance. "Constance," he said when she answered, "I need you to file an emergency motion with the court. I have new evidence related to my fitness as a parent. It proves I was protecting my daughter's right to know the truth about her mother." Constance was quiet for a moment. "Henry, what did you do?" "I'll explain in person," Henry said. "But I need that motion filed before 9. "I'll handle it," Constance said. "See you at the courthouse." Henry hung up and looked at the screen where Audrey's video was still playing on loop. Her voice filled the lobby. "Take care of Louisa, and don't let them get away with this." He had done what she asked. The truth was out. And now, he had to face the judge. By 6 in the morning, the rain had stopped. The sky over the city was turning pale gray, the first light of dawn breaking through the clouds. Henry stood outside the courthouse with Constance, reviewing the motion she had filed. Inside the folder were copies of the evidence, statements from Silas and Officer Harding, and a letter from Vivian describing Henry's actions as those of a responsible parent seeking justice for his daughter's mother. At 9, the courtroom opened. The judge, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes, reviewed the motion in silence. She looked up at Henry. "Mr. Walker," she said, "I've read your attorney's emergency filing. I've also seen the news coverage from this morning. You've had quite a night." "Yes, Your Honor," Henry said. The judge folded her hands on the bench. "The court recognizes that your actions last night were motivated by a desire to uncover the truth about your late wife's death. However, I must also consider the impact of these events on your daughter Louisa. Do you believe exposing her to this level of public scrutiny is in her best interest?" Henry took a breath. "Your Honor, my daughter already knows her mother died fighting for what was right. Hiding the truth from her would teach her that justice doesn't matter. I want her to grow up knowing that when something is wrong, you don't look away, you do something about it. That's what Audrey taught me, and that's what I want to teach Louisa." The judge was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Temporary custody is granted to you, Mr. Walker. We'll reconvene in 6 months for a full review. But based on what I've seen today, I believe your daughter is in good hands." Henry felt his legs go weak. Constance put a hand on his shoulder. Outside the courtroom, Louisa was waiting with her grandmother. Henry walked out and knelt down in front of her. She wrapped her arms around his neck. "Did we win?" Louisa asked. "We won," Henry said. "Because of the numbers?" Louisa asked. "Because of the numbers," Henry said. "And because your mom was smart enough to leave them for us." Louisa pulled back and looked at him. "What happens now?" "Now," Henry said, "we go home." 6 months later, Carter Industries announced the creation of the Audrey Walker Safety Fund, a program dedicated to protecting whistleblowers in industrial fields. Silas Carter personally oversaw its launch. Clinton Archer was convicted of criminal negligence and obstruction of justice and sentenced to 8 years in prison. The federal contract was canceled, but Carter Industries survived, rebuilt under new leadership, focused on transparency and accountability. Vivian published a series of articles documenting the case, which won her a National Journalism Award. Henry returned to his job at the tower, but now he worked in the safety division, reviewing reports and ensuring that no engineer would ever face what Audrey had faced. Louisa kept the Polaroid photograph in a frame on her desk, next to her drawings. And every year on the anniversary of Audrey's death, Henry and Louisa would visit Site 7, now a memorial garden, and leave a single white flower on the stone that bore her name. The wallet that had started it all sat on Henry's dresser, worn and faded. Inside, the only thing that remained was the Polaroid and a note Henry had written on the back of the calendar page. The truth was always here. We just had to be brave enough to find it. The city lights flickered through the window as Henry closed the wallet and set it aside. Downstairs, Louisa was finishing her homework. Tomorrow, they would visit the memorial again. But tonight, they were home. And that was enough.